Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode. I want to speak about how reality emerges from silence and what is the value of silence to a civilization founded upon language, founded upon noise and its complexity. When we divide the world between an internal and external dimension, each dimension has in some senses divided into its complex mode and its simple mode. That means when I look at external reality, what can happen is either there's going to be intense, incredible movement, so in some sense complexity of external phenomena, or there is simplicity of external phenomena. When a person goes within and wonders about the internal dimension, they find that it is also like that. It is simple and it is complex, but its simplicity and complexity are different. The simplicity of the internal reality is at first given to itself. Externality is complex. So the complexity of externality echoes internally, and there is, how would I say it? An internally simple moment is empty, an internally complex moment is incredibly multidimensional. An external complex moment, again, is multidimensional. What that means is that, like, if externally you saw someone from Circus du Soleil, du Soleil, or someone's juggling like mini motorcycles while riding a motorcycle, What I'm trying to say is that it's complexity. Let's say you find yourself in an externally complex situation. And let's say we start from external complexity of body and external complexity of mind. The person's subjective life is whirling around, and so is, in some sense, both their subjective and objective life. You find the opposite to your moment and you confront that, and then you realize the opposites relate to one another. Once you realize the opposites relate to one another, you have enough contentment to be the present. When you dwell in the present moment for a while, you may feel it is purposeless. You may feel that you have to either be doing something about the past or doing something about the future. But true responsibility arises from a true self, and that is hard to find nowadays. Nowadays, the environment changes who we are, and not only our environment, but our opinions on the environment change as well. And so, in a world of change, we're trying to find truth pretty much. What that means is it's like I had this personal experience. I was in Florida on the beach, and I was with my friend called Ashley. And so we're both on this thing, on this pretty much I lose my ring in the sand. I had this ring. I lose it in the sand. I look for it. It is gone. It was as if for the first time I saw nature swallow something that I could not find. And and pretty much what I'm saying is that it's like suddenly the scale expands. You think you're the small and the big, then you see you're in the big and the small. And the hardest thing is to be humble. You see, man's mind is so in the driver's seat that we can never wonder about anything else. We are a self-centered civilization. We're not even close to being a galactic civilization. Even if there was extraterrestrial contact, we as a species will not be ready for an interstellar relationship. It is because we, just like how people are selfish, the species appears selfish. Like, just imagine there was this kind of grand ballroom that they wanted representatives from Earth and all planets to attend this gathering, let's say this galactic party. What happens, imagine, is that we begin to realize when we go to that galactic party and they're like, okay, so tell us about Earth. How's your planet? And we tell them about our history and they'll be like, oh my God, you guys are savages. Get out of this party. That's the kind of history we lead. We have to turn history's frown into a smile. What other choice do we have? We have to take in what has happened. There are great arguments that could be made against how can I tell you? I sometimes you can't break a thought only from hitting it from one angle sometimes. What that means is there's an infinitude to thought. It's as if nobody is lacking thoughts. Everybody has a thought. It is only those thoughts that are embraced by the spirit of the universal sector in some sense. There are many, I call it the wave of hidden genius. Think of human beings as antenna signals, and as each generation is born into manifestation, they receive a more refined signal. And that's why there must come a listening to the youth. You see, you must listen to the youth's presence, but not their personality. You must learn that when you see someone, their eyes are there too. It is not just a body you see, right? So those eyes are moving and navigating through a world. Eventually, you find a sort of stabilization with your external reality and you move internally, but it is not escapism. That's the most important thing. For the secular mind, spirituality appears as a sort of escapism. Kind of like I think atheists see spiritual people as ostriches who've put their head in the dirt and are trying to hide in a concept. Okay? But that is not the case. Let me tell you why. Because the unknown exists. It's like, sure, let's believe whatever secular mindset, but what do we do about the unknown? And the unknown is the missing piece of any institution. That means the employer is like, God damn it, what kind of employee do I bring? Like, my company's not working. What do I do? And what it is the person needs a new vision. And sometimes you have to trust the randomity of the world. It took us 4 billion years to be random, guys. It's like, really, anything like a person does, they're like, why are you doing it? He's like, it took me 4 billion years to do this, man. Relax. Life moves. That's its incredible power. That is why I speak, because there's something here moving. If there was nothing here, easy. It's so easy to be alone in a world and accept the world, you see. It's much harder to wonder about the blind spots, to wonder about what is not seen. You see, it's kind of fascinating. Human beings, we're intelligent creatures. As intelligent creatures, we maintain our intelligence through an expressive way and a receptive way. That means you have to receive data throughout the day, or your mind will be like, literally just become like a rippleless pond. Sometimes it's okay for reality to move forth, and sometimes you can have an ideological separation from the moment, and sometimes you don't need to have an ideological separation. You see, life is not a. This is why the truth couldn't be found for so long, because you can't give one answer when every person's eyes sees a different angle of the problem. You know, you can say language is. This is going to be an intense statement, but you can say speech developed as a sort of perversion of the creature towards sound. Okay, I don't want to use perversion, but I want to say obsession. Like, something took the attention of that being there, right? Your imagination is like a palace made of glass, a kingdom of glass. It has a sort of boundary, a sort of value, yet it is see through. And so my question for a long time was that it wasn't that are there other beings in other dimensions or whatever, like that's pretty much seems to be the mystical interest. But it's not the right direction. But I'm telling you, it's many people wonder about spirituality because they wonder if there's something out there, kind of like the same excitement you have to wonder if there's aliens out there. Some people wonder if there's hidden dimensions to the world. I think the word for it is theosophy. But anyways, it's the study of the invisible here. Tell me how far people can study the invisible. I'll tell you, oh man, they can believe they can create. We can center civilization against towards the invisible. But what I'm trying to say is like just the curiosity to wonder if there's greater rooms than your sensory perception, and even if you were to wonder, how to go about it. I find that what people are buying, and I find this to be a core principle in any action of expression. People wonder why things happen. When they wonder why things happen, they wonder about a cause. When they wonder about the cause, because they are an effect of some program, the cause is a different program. So what I'm saying is, unless we push people towards wondering about their mind, they will be content without ever wondering about it. And I find that's a missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity to be given an advanced technology and not to use it. That is our intelligence. Just as noise emerges from silence and subjective reality emerges from silence. Pretty much my relationship with my mind is kind of like lights turning on and off. There are certain moments where it's evoked. There's certain moments where it follows the elemental program. Some moments where my subjective reality is more animated. My attention goes there. Pretty much to get to the core of it is that we are what they say an existential being. We are something that's existing, right? So we can't say existing is something we're doing. It's more like a quality of something we are. Okay, and so what we are seems to be at first limited to the biomechanism, the biology of the being, right? And how it's happening based on certain functions, certain principles. It's like you can say the same way the DNA commands the cells of the body to move in a certain way. You can say the virtues, the principles, the beliefs of the person come from a sort of, the behaviors of the person come from a sort of design. Just like how the body has sort of, there's certain laws to the universe, there's also certain laws manifest in the internal universe, but those laws are at first self-imposed. And let me tell you the arrogance of the ego. This is when we say somebody has an ego. Somebody has never driven a car. He sees a car. He says, let me drive. I know how to drive. That is ego. That is falsehood. And it's so important that whatever life you live, whether it's painted by pictures of bad or good, it's like you have to be true to yourself. So you see what that means? That means like think about someone you care really, really respected. When you really, really respect someone, you also really respect their mind. Therefore, you don't impose. You are more the silent component of the moment. Every moment has an ebb and flow. There's been certain moments where I felt the whole intelligence of the moment wanted me to direct the moment. It's kind of like a pilot being called to navigate something, to fly somewhere, right? It's as if the pilot is navigating its free will in the divine will. I want you to just imagine all 8 billion people on this planet, all of them categorized by these certain fires, circles of fires they're going around. So just taking this idea, imagine like, like a campfire people go around. I want you to imagine there's like these campfires, all giant campfires, like all around, and people are just staring into the fire of that campfire, you know. And so what I mean by that is, it's like the fire is not just, don't think of it as an elemental thing, think of it as an idea that people are going towards the ideas that make them feel warm, make they're going towards experience, they're going towards an existential philosophy that is more in harmony with their experience. Right now, it's very easy to be an existential being because you are. You see, it's like there's no action involved. But when you want to wonder about experience, experience is a changing thing. That means your mind is, it has created time, has it not? It has accepted the concept. For me, I have found myself what I call them in is moments of empty seeing. It's not just seeing emptiness, it's emptiness, and then there is sight of that emptiness, and there is nothing else. It's as if man's mind can never imagine a vacuum, but we can consider it. You can never, everything has to do with distance. People's passion, people's purpose, it has to do with the distance to what is real for you. When something is not real for you, it's like you're too distant from it. When a stranger asks for help, you have no idea who that person is, you're distant. You are like, okay, I can't help you, I gotta get to work, for example. So when that mentality arrives, how can I say it? I'm just trying to say that our psychology is reactive. It's reacting in accordance to not to the environment, but how it creates the meaning of the environment. I'm kind of telling you, your thoughts are part of the environment, they're not you. But they're part of your inner environment. So to the body, when you look at it, let's say the bottom of the mountain is the physical body and the top of the mountain is the non-physical mind, the transcendental mind. So at the bottom of the mountain, when you look from the bottom of the mountain at the top of the mountain, the mind has a soul. When you look from the top of the mountain, the every existential phenomena becomes your attention. And that is, you can't get any more omniscient than that, you know? So I find we harbor the wisdom of the past generations because their efforts have continued, some of them. Like, I have no idea who Socrates was, but in some sense, his stories echo into my ear from the moment he existed till now. We have to create space or we cannot be creative in. So let me tell you what I think is creative. I think rather than you being in a certain room and moving furniture, you can't be creative. If, let's say, you're someone who for the first time you're hearing the concept of creativity. You know, you've never thought about creativity until this moment, imagine. So now imagine somebody is telling you about this creativity, you know? This mystery of creativity. So I'll give you an example. Imagine right now you're in a room and there's furniture in this room. And I want you to imagine what you're calling normality, what is normal, or what is now the normal now, the kind of mainstream acceptance of values. What is normal is just how nothing has, you have moved nothing from your room and it's in a certain way. That is what we say, let's say that snapshot of that moment is what we call normal. Now, anything you do in that room, let's say you move any furniture, it's as if your mind begins cultivating creative potential. Kind of like a child not building a Lego set, but unraveling, breaking apart a Lego set to build something else, you know? I'll tell you something insanely interesting. You know how bullying is occurring in a lot of, like, everywhere. Like, I mean, bullying is very nothing compared to war. There's war going on our planet, believe it or not. You know, certain violence. But I'm telling you, it's like, just for a second, consider you take out all the furniture and the room is empty. That emptiness is the liberation of Zen. When you take out not the content of your meaning, you don't have to go find like an ancient relic and pray to it. You have to kinda empty the furniture of your mind. Literally, your mind is set in a certain way because you've been tunneling through many experiences in life. Whether you know it or not, your decisions have been sculpting you as a creature. You need emptiness to truly find genius. And so any human being pushed to a moment where they have to confront their self is given a privilege. I'm not joking. Any moment you find where there is no distraction, concentrate on the self, study the self. Whenever, if you're waiting at the doctor's office, just be still and silent and study the self. Study the moment, observe, watch. Watch the watcher within, and in some sense non-dualistically be. And then the mind begins teaching you. You become the student of your intelligence. You become the student of your creativity. You begin from that emptiness, placing ideology forward, you know. So when you understand that emptiness underlying everything, you have endlessly ultimate ability to see creation. I'm not joking. Without emptiness, it's like forget about the concept of God. You won't need it. It's very fascinating. In a part of our history, there was a religious mindset to the world. There was the Inquisition. There was I call it ideological possession, to the degree that that ideological possession was influencing other people's lives. And we have to care for our minds. That's the most important thing. That means, in some sense, I totally, it just clicked for me. You can't be, I mean, you definitely can, it's allowed, but you shouldn't be disrespectful to anyone. Let me tell you why. Because you don't know how the mind of that person will change. Imagine Einstein was walking and like some hooligan was like, "You get out of my way, freak." You know, and Einstein kind of got a bit sad and he walked to the post office and he got bored then from his sadness, and then suddenly wrote the theories of relativity and super relativity, special relativity. So I'm telling you, it's you never know how the world will move. Yet you are on the giant, on the back of this giant turtle. Civilization is built on the back of natural forces that we can't control. You know, when there was a tsunami in Japan years ago, it was kind of like, I was like, wow, that is the power of nature. It surpasses man's calculation. So you can never be ahead of nature if you calculate. You have to rhythmically abide by it, and then you will be introduced to a new domain, a new way of being awake. So when you wake up in the morning, you're not running after moments of thought to actualize. You are watching. It's strange, but it's like there's a freedom in an attention that trusts its moment. And any ideology that helps you trust the moment, good for you. You have in some sense broken certain shackles from your chains, from your wrists. You know, you have. There is so much ideological enslavement that the only thing you can do about it is be silent. And there's two kinds of prayer, guys. You know, there's one kind of prayer which is like, God help me, what the fuck, you know, like it's an intense situation. And then there's a kind of prayer which is silent. It is as if this prayer is not coming from your brain, it is coming from your heart. It is coming from a decency of being aware of not just subjective data or objective data, but the emotional sensitivity that occurs in between. I have, in some sense, you don't know. It's like I think it's a symptom of just, how can I tell you? It's like there's certain moments where incredible emotions arise within me, and the reason they become incredible is that I become still and silent, and I watch the self. I watch how my mind moves before my free will, in some sense, shifts it. You know, you have to always maintain your balance, not with like in a calculated way, in a decent way. You have to not lose a sense that underneath whoever you think you are, there was a point in life where you existed in a simpler way. In that simplicity, there wasn't the errors of the journeys you went through. So in some sense, you can always start anew. Kind of, the founder of Aikido said, create each day anew. Your attention is divine because it is the proof of your existence that is a self-proof, because it's there, it can ask the question and therefore also be the answer. Okay, guys, I accidentally like muted the thing, so I don't know how much of it was recorded. I'm reading quotes from Papa G if you just tuned in, and anyways, I'm just gonna continue. He says, "What is purification of the mind?" Question mark. No thought is his answer. He says, no thought. This thoughtless mind, sattvic mind, no mind can be called consciousness itself, self itself. Papaji says thoughts are impediments to seeing your own face. Don't give rise to any thought and discover who you are. Papaji says if you address the mind with who are you, it will disappear. Mind is nothing but thought. You can't separate thought itself from the mind. So guys, I'm going to zoom into that quote a bit. He says mind is nothing but thought, okay? And then he says you can't separate thought itself from the mind, okay? Because the reason you can't separate it is because they're the same thing, okay? So I think I know what he's saying here. He said, Papaji says, whatever comes, let it come. Whatever stays, let it stays. What goes, let it go. Papaji says all that you're attached to, all that you love, all that you know, someday will be gone. Knowing this and that the world is your mind which you create, play in and suffer from is known as discrimination. I'll read that again. He says all that you're attached to, all that you love, all that you know, someday will be gone. Knowing this and that the world is your mind which you create, play in, and suffer from is known as discrimination. Yeah. Discriminate between the real and the unreal. The known is unreal and will come and go. Stay with the unknown, the unchanging, the truth. Yeah. Who is journeying for freedom? Question mark. The one who is already free. Just get rid of the concept, I am the body separate from the source. You return to what you always were. Papaji says nothing arises without self. All existence is one in one's own self. Papaji says you have to be very careful to be vigilant to see what is coming from the mind and to see the happiness that is coming from the self. By the way, guys, Papaji is this Indian enlightened guy. We're reading his quotes, yeah. Papaji says thoughts are impediments to seeing your own face. Don't give rise to any thought and discover who you are. You see, I like it because it's like Papaji's creating the counterculture to the corporate mindset in some way. Papaji says don't go to the past. The past is a problem. The past is mind. When you go to the past, all will be problems, so don't go to the past. He says the mind is the past and the past is a graveyard. Don't go to the graveyard. The past is a graveyard because it's an illusion of what was. Papaji says when we use the word I, there is ego. Then there is the mind. Then there is a body. Then there are senses. Then there are sense objects. And then all manifestation arises. Sorry, guys, this quote is so heavy that my attempt in contemplating it is trying to make me reverse engineer it conceptually. And the value of this quote is unbelievable. I'll read it again, just, He says, when we use the word I, there is ego. Then there is the mind. Then there is a body. Then there are senses. Then there are sense objects. And then all manifestation arises. Wow. Pretty much Papaji, I think, in that quote is suggesting that when we use the word I anytime we speak and the linguistic simulation is evoked, there is an ego, and then there is the whole hassle of the journey. So pretty much realize that in silence you are a non-dual collective being that's unknown. In the noise and sound and the linguistic simulation and the linguistic realm, you are duality's student. Anyways, I'll continue on. Papaji says meditation is to effortlessly turn the mind toward that energy which energizes mind. That means the source, I think. Papaji says reality is that which always exists and never changes. That's the fascinating thing, guys. For me, it's just incredible to just consider how many human minds, how many people from silent moments will suddenly get great ideas. It's just going to happen. It's just been happening. It's just interesting to just wonder how from non-existence, existence pops out as if non-existence was just a veil, just a portal. Reality is incredible because it's here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Much blessings and namaste.